sounds special. So congrats.
Thank you. I forgot how awkward it is to sit here while someone reads your bio.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on the highest attending exhibition here at ACEART.
Congrats to you too, Jules. My goodness, we did the darn thing.
We did. To be honest, when we first started talking about Landfear, I knew that it was going to be something really, really special. But I thought we would maybe begin with, tell me about where you got the idea for Landfear. What was the inspiration? How did it come to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have a really bad memory. And sort of the conception of the show began, about like 2 years ago, so it's hard to remember. But so I applied to ACEART to host a show here with a completely different concept that I just couldn't sink my teeth into. And I thought, like I've been in some group exhibitions before, and that's always like an amazing opportunity to sort of contribute to this like greater space and like add your voice to it. But with a solo show, it's just you, and you really have that opportunity to kind of create this whole world that's just kind of your own. And at the same time, with a solo exhibition, you're asking people to come specifically for you, to come see your work. I mean, like, thank goodness I'm sharing a gallery with Emmy Sparks. Thanks for coming, bud. So like it was a two-stop shop. So people could come for both of us. But anyway, I thought with the solo exhibition, I really wanted to have something to say. I wanted to give people an experience and leave them with thoughts or emotions that they could hold on to. And so when I was thinking about sort of a subject that I could tackle, I don't think of myself as like a particularly wise person. Like I'm not a philosopher or a poet. I don't have any answers. I just have a lot of questions, and I have a lot of insecurities, and I have a lot of fears. And I was like, okay, fear, that's something that I know intimately. That's something that's bred into all of us, but specifically, women like me, women like us. That's something that I could talk about. Not just this fear for ourselves, but this fear for everything around us, for our community, for our people, for the land itself. So it kind of came out of necessity of thinking, like, what's something that I have to say? I guess the answer was like, I'm scared and I hope you are too,
Yeah. And then why was it so important to relate that concept or notion of fear to animals and to the earth and to everything around us for you?
Because like in our culture, in our ways, everything is equilateral, everything is connected. And fear for yourself, I think, is really difficult to parse from fear for the world, fear for the environment, fear for like our four-legged and be-winged and be-scaled kin, and fear for our community. It's just so hard to parse apart. And also, like, fear for yourself is just such a singular emotion. I think it's a lot more fascinating to think about the way that fear impacts how we relate with others and how fear of ourselves impacts our self-perception. It's just more interesting that way.
And when we first started talking about this exhibition, there's a teaching in Indigenous ways, Michif ways, that you're only supposed to create, or not only supposed to, but it's best to create bead, so when you are feeling good feelings. And so what I really loved about your perspective was like, I bead for different reasons. I bead as therapy, and what if I'm not feeling well? Does that mean that I shouldn't create? So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that teaching came about because, like, primarily women in our culture were beading for others. Specifically like men in their lives, their husbands and their sons, and works that they would keep in their homes. And so when you are creating these pieces that are meant to honor and protect the people that we love, when you're, feeling bad, I've heard it said before that like every stitch is a prayer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you want to imbue those prayers with positivity and love and hope and kindness. And if you don't, you're running the risk of creating kind of like a cursed object. And because our art has never really been, or has, up until very recently not been given the opportunity to be showcased in public settings like these, I think it was difficult for women to have the opportunity to explore things that weren't honor. And now we have that opportunity. So now, I'm creating these works with sometimes malice, sometimes anger, sometimes hopelessness, sometimes despair, in the hopes that, they don't necessarily just belong to me or just belong to one person, they belong to all of us, and maybe we can all kind of hold space for that. Maybe that's how we get through it. Maybe we just all hold on to each other's fears, and then, yeah.
Like Death Spiral, Lovers. That's a good segue into
Yeah.
that piece.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe all we have is to hold on to each other.
Maybe that's the way through, maybe. Yeah, Death Spiral is that eagle piece there, the red one. That's an eagle mating ritual. Yeah, thank you, Eli. Yeah. It's an eagle mating ritual by which eagles will, in midair, grab talons and just, spiral towards the earth, free falling, and then they'll let go at the last minute, and it's a trust fall. It's a trust exercise. Yeah, it's a beautiful practice. I highly encourage you to go look it up on YouTube later. It's crazy. It's badass. So yeah, that piece was sort of the rumination on maybe that's all that we have is each other.
And that was one of the pieces that you added later on, right? It was when you finished last, I think, was it?
I finished that piece at 5 a.m. the night before install. It was bonkers.
I remember you being like, no, this is important, we need to include this. So why was that concept of holding on to each other and spiraling down to the earth so important to add?
Because I don't see this show as despairing. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that fear is a bad thing. I think that fear is actually a very important emotion. I think that fear is kind of like grief. It's an expression of love. If we didn't care about anything, we wouldn't be afraid. If we weren't afraid of losing something, do you know what I mean?
Then it wouldn't mean so much.
It wouldn't mean so much to us, exactly. So I don't see this show as gloomy or full of despair. I think it's just an expression of this very primal emotion that we all have, kind of the first emotion that we all have. And so it was important to me for that piece to be included to show that we don't have to be alone in the fall, that we need one another. It's kind of all we got, yeah.
I love that so much. Maybe let's talk a little bit about Beacon, the first piece.
Oh, I love that one. Sorry, that sounds really conceited. I love that one because of its genesis. So that was the first piece, and when I completed it, I was like, okay, this is the prologue. It's so adversarial, that statement, show me what nature did to you. It's so aggressive, and it immediately kind of positions the speaker or the beacon as something that is opposed to nature, as opposed to being a component of it. And that line is actually from a porn parody called Final Flesh that was written by one of the South Park writers. Okay, I'm gonna get into it because we got a little bit of time. He wrote this 4-part script about this family of 3 living at the end of the world, and then commissioned 4 separate porn production companies to make it. And it's this bonkers, crazy, it's not really porn. I can't imagine anybody enjoying it. But there's just this one insane scene. There's not even much nudity in it, but the dad's holding his dick and he says yeah baby, show me what nature did to you. And I was like, that is a great line. So I stole it. And then I beat it.
And it sort of like invites the reader in, being like, you're included in this too.
Yeah.
It's not just like a spectacle that you can watch, you're actually included.
Yeah.
And nature affects all of us.
Yes, there's a me and a you. By the way, my mom's here. So I just said all of that with my mom in attendance, just to set a precedent for what's going down today. Hi.
Okay, what about the three here?
Habituation,
Yeah, we have silk swathing, muzzle grab, and strange mercy.
Yeah, so these pieces kind of explore, I mean, it's hard for me sometimes to kind of talk about the meanings of my work. That's why I love you, Jules, because you are so much smarter than me.
Opposite. It's different ways, right? We see things in different ways, like different perspectives, but kind of with the same background, so it kind of works. Yeah, but they're based on photographs, right?
They are, yeah, composite, I don't know if the composite's the right word, like collages. I would take stock images and mash them together. And they depict behaviors in nature, I suppose, spider, coyotes, polar bears, that, I think that anybody would kind of consider repulsive and primal and brutal, but really, I think when we think about what we do to one another as humans, what we do to ourselves as humans, it's really not that far apart, and the intentions are all, I think, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the polar bear has murdered its cub or killed its cub, correct? Or was it another?
Yeah. It has. Yeah. So Strange Mercy. This actually, that was just a very blunt. No, it is. It's very interesting when people look at that piece and they're like, oh, it's like eating a seal, right? The truth is that in, I think it was 2016, a wildlife photographer and the community in Churchill witnessed a father polar bear who had killed its cub, and it was hypothesized that it was because of food scarcity. So it was sort of its its last choice.
Because the cub wouldn't have survived.
Cub wouldn't have survived.
Yeah.
But the father polar bear was holding its head and carrying it. And I think it was a very kind of profound expression of necessity, but also of, to me, grief. So that's Strange Mercy, yeah.
And muzzle grab, the coyotes.
Yeah, so that's a behavior in a lot of different canine species where dogs will bite each other's mouths, but not super aggressively, and it's actually not meant to like inflict pain. It's meant to establish dominance, and like sort of set in stone the hierarchy of the pack. So it looks like they're in pain, but they're really just kind of either playing or just sort of like setting the stage for what's going on.
It's kind of like a ritual that they do, maybe, to enforce the hierarchy.
Yeah.
If one of them steps out of line, it's like, wait a sec.
Yeah, but they're not hurting each other.
No.
Typically. No.
And then silk swathing.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what spiders do. They immobilize their prey and wrap it in silk to eat later. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I want to
Thanks.
talk a little bit about the beadwork on the three of them. So I noticed, muzzle grab has the black background and the other two have the white. How do you decide what color the background or what material you're going to bead on?
There's a lot of velvet used in the show. I don't know if I'm going to do that again. Velvet sucks to work with.
Because it's so thick?
No,
It
because it's so
doesn't lace that?
slippy and it puckers. I mean, I should be kind. I think that it, velvet puckers in a really, really interesting way that comes out very, very organic. It makes these really, really interesting ridges. But I love velvet. It feels nice. And it's it's a more, I wouldn't say it's a traditional material, but like, historically folks would beat on velvet for sure. As for the colors, it was purely aesthetic. Yeah.
Awesome. Morning band.
Oh yeah. So in our culture, and this is an old practice.
And it still happens.
Still happens for sure.
In like Saint Laurent, I think, and then where I'm from, Camperville, they still do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked my grandma about this, and she said, "Yeah, but I haven't seen it. It was even before my time." And she's 92. But yeah, it's still happening. So it's a Métis funeral tradition in which pallbearers would wear a black ribbon or a black bolt of cloth on their free arm while they were carrying the coffin. So I decided to kind of make an extraordinarily embellished and kind of almost like flamboyant version of that, not in mockery, but as a way to kind of memorialize grief and pay tribute to it as this like really, really beautiful force. Yeah, like I was saying, grief is really just another sort of expression of love, and I think paying tribute to it and thanking it for what it gives us is important. So this was sort of in tribute to grief. Yeah.
And you chose to use what would be considered maybe like a traditional Métis floral pattern on it. I assume maybe you could speak a little bit more to that, but to honor the ancestors and.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's I've heard some people like in my circle call me a contemporary beadwork artist. I don't necessarily know if that's true. I don't even know if that kind of dichotomy exists of like traditional versus contemporary. But like there are florals everywhere in the show. Sometimes behind Beacon, here, on Lot's Wife, in the Death Spiral, like they're everywhere. And that's because like those are the patterns, those are the symbols, those are the techniques that I've studied, right? Like it's kind of the only clothes I can wear. I got nothing else, So absolutely, yeah, it's in tribute to the ancestors, and it also uses a bunch of traditional material. Like there's rabbit fur there, there's hide on there. It's on velvet. It's backed with satin. Yeah.
I really like in your bio how it said that you like to, I can't remember verbatim, but refute the idea that Métis beadwork only belongs to the past. Why do you think that people have this notion that Métis beadwork, traditional style beadwork only belongs to the past?
Because of racism and misogyny, honestly, and kind of no other reason. Like, Métis beadwork is some of my favorite art in the whole world, And a lot of these grandmother pieces, we call them grandmother pieces, these like artifacts, or, basically just like art that was created like a decade or more ago. They're not that old. And like there's no difference in skill between some of these grandmother pieces that are chilling in archives, in museums, like in back rooms, hidden away, and whatever is hanging in like the biggest art galleries in the world. There's no difference in skill there. It's just about how they've been treated, right? Like the Mona Lisa or whatever the fuck, that's like hidden behind glass, it's sustained for 1 million years. It's not better than the work that our ancestors made. It's just that our ancestors' work was left nameless and like sold in the trade and scattered across the world, and now it's like, tucked away for very few people to see. What was the question?
Something about Métis beadwork belonging to the past.
Oh, yeah. So like, you'll see like the Mona Lisa or whatever in the Louvre. I don't know where it is. And then you'll see like our ancestors' pieces in museums, and museums are, like tributes to the past and stuff like that. Like I think it's just about positioning. So like we're seen as like archaic, and like, other old art is seen as like whatever. Yeah.
Like high art.
Yeah, high art, exactly. So yeah, like we're seen as like, but also, it hasn't been cool to be Métis for very long. People weren't, like there was this, Janine Crouchy, my mentor, talks about how like when she started beading and it was the 80s, like you couldn't fill a kitchen table with beaders, right? Like this was an art form that was almost lost. And so, in that big disparity, our art wasn't given the opportunity to flourish and grow as a medium, and it certainly wasn't given the platform.
Yeah, I think because it was so closely tied to our cultural identity as well, and if that's threatened or being taken from you or you're not allowed to practice it, then it has to go underground. So that could contribute to why it is maybe seen as something from the past. But also I still meet people, like most recently last weekend, who still think that like regular Indigenous people like are from the past too, like that we don't exist, and it's like, where are you from? Like apparently London, Ontario, apparently. So I was like, wait a sec, what? But it's still something, and I think we're lucky in Winnipeg that Indigenous people have a presence here, artfully, culturally, and maybe people from other places not so much. But
yeah, I mean, like I'm trying to see who's here. Okay, he's not here. This guy a couple of weeks ago, bless his heart, he had great intentions. He was like, I've never seen beadwork like this before. Normally I think of it as like, X, Y, Z. And I'm like, I don't think you're paying attention to enough beadwork. Like, contemporary artists have been doing wild shit for decades. So yeah, I think just like the idea of like our culture is like dead and dying is definitely a part of that idea that like our art is one way, and it's like it's only tradition and it's not, also a medium.
Which is what I really love about this show. It's like, it's not just floral patterns, it's silk softening and muzzle grabbing, and it can be anything that we want it to be. Just like as people, our culture will evolve, and we evolve as people, and so will our art and beadwork will do the same. So that's what I love most about this show. Actually, I shouldn't say most, but one of the things that I love about this show as well is that it's demonstrating that in real time that artwork and beadwork will evolve with us, and it's not just one set way. So, well done, you did it. Do you want to talk about coup de grace?
Coup de grace, yeah. So that one employs a technique that is called bead weaving. It's the same technique that I used for the light boxes, the beacon, the ones that are glowing in the back. Where instead of stitching beads to a fabric, you're stitching beads to one another. So this was kind of like my first attempt at manual animation. I don't know how successful it was. And the funny thing was, I wouldn't know how successful it would be until it was done. So it's kind of this like skull flickering back and forth.
Right, because the idea, or what we were talking about doing is, what's it called, like stop motion animation. So it's a skull coming forward and then regressing again. So ideally, that would maybe be how it's presented in the future. But why was it the skull represented death? Why was it coming forward and then going back and coming forward and going back?
I think it represented fear of death, which is kind of, I guess, like the most base fear, maybe. Skulls are cool, also.
And I remember, so when we were first talking about this, you said it's like a skeleton monster that's on your shoulder, and it's saying, do you remember this conversation that we had?
I do, yeah. Well, I was trying to skirt around it. It's fine. I had a period of psychosis earlier in the year, and the only way that I knew how to verbalize it was I felt like there was this skeleton monster like lurking around behind me, fucking around, and I was like, just cut my head off or go away. You know what I mean? It felt like this and that's what the word coup de grace, or the term coup de grace, like cut of mercy, like killing blow, is in reference to. It's the fear of death, or fear, felt like a flickering skull behind me.
And then from there, we sort of talked about if someone was to experience the show, not in a gallery, anywhere in the whole world, where would it be and what would it feel like? And I sort of use that as a curator to think about wall colors or lighting. And Vi said, and I think it was in relation to coup de grace, that you wanted someone to feel like they were walking through the bush at night during winter, and you could feel like the crackle in the snow and the moonlight and see the stars. And so I used that to sort of build how the exhibition really felt. And I feel like as curators, it's important to ask these sorts of questions of the artist, like, how does it, if someone could experience this artwork anywhere in the whole world at any time of day, then what would it feel like and what would it look like? So that was really important to me. Do you want to talk about Blood Letter?
Yeah, that was a very interesting experience making that one. I applied fabric paint with a syringe, like watered down fabric paint with a syringe on top of that felt, and then I beat it over sort of like the darkest, most saturated parts with translucent red beads with red thread, and then the kind of lighter ones with transparent beads with red thread. And yeah, I guess what makes that piece interesting to me is that typically beads are strung together. So they're like holding one another's weight. You can sort of manipulate the tension, I guess. But with these ones, each of the beads are kind of held in a stress position. They're not supported by one another. They're individually kind of placed on their edge alone. And what I love about this piece is people's interpretations of it. I've had like a lot of people come up and say different things and say what they think it is, and whatever you think it is, that's the right answer. You know, like and it's going to be infinitely more interesting than whatever I think it is. So that's been a cool experience. Somebody said it was like a topography once, and I was like, that's genius, that's great, I love that. That's what it is now. You know what I mean?
It is. We talked a little bit about death spiral lovers. What about Lot's Wife?
Lot's Wife. That's the floral piece. Yeah, thank you, Eli. Give a round of applause for Eli.
Was this one of the first pieces you did?
No, it was kind of in the middle.
Okay. Maybe it's when I walked in and saw this like body of work, it was what I was most drawn to, so maybe that's what I'm remembering, but yeah.
Definitely took the longest. Thank you. So that piece is inspired by a Bible story. And I was not raised very religious, but my dad is very religious, my grandma's very religious. So I sort of just have like more of like a scholarly or like narrative interest in the Bible. And the story of Lot's wife, ostensibly, you know, Cole's notes, she was told to leave her home by God. God said, don't turn around because I'm blowing up your town. And she looked back, and as punishment, she was turned into a pillar of salt. And I thought that was incredibly poignant. It's like one line in the Bible that she's referenced. She's not given a name, certainly not given an understanding of like why she turns around, whether it was a mistake or whether it was on purpose. But that story really, really haunted me. And I was just thinking about. I was thinking about how painful it is to leave one's home. And you know, like in a global context, we are quite lucky as Indigenous people to be living on our homeland. Like that's pretty lucky. There are so many people who are displaced or like forced to migrate because of conflict, because of climate crisis. And so like I was really thinking about like the women of Palestine and the women of Sudan and the women of Congo, and also like this past summer, the women of like northern Manitoba who had to flee south because of the wildfires. I was thinking about the cost of leaving and that kind of punishment when I was making that piece.
I remember you saying it's a love letter to all the women displaced by war and famine and climate change.
Yeah.
And I think it really comes through in the artwork. It's so beautiful, and it's definitely, you can feel the love in it. Yeah.
Thank you.
My deed, my seed.
My dead, my seed.
My dead, my seed.
Yeah, so that's a line from a poem by Marilyn Dumont, an amazing Métis poet.
Do you want me to read it? I found it.
Sure, go crazy.
Do you want to talk about maybe what it's beaded on first?
Yeah, so it's beaded on salmon skin that I tanned myself and processed myself and acquired from my favorite sushi shop, the name of which I will not share because they're technically breaching like food safety.
They're like, hey, we heard you like fish skin. You want some fish skin?
Oh my god, it was so funny. So I went to them and I was like, yo, can I have your fish skins? And they were like, no, we would get like a huge fine. I was like, that's fine, whatever. I come back like a couple weeks later, and a completely different person was there, and she leaned over the counter and she's like, do you still want fish skins? And I was like, yes. And she was like, okay. So she went to the back and she pulled out like this bag of like 10 skins that I bought for like $20. And every time I would come back, they would offer me these skins. But I was like, so it was amazing, thank goodness for them. But also I was wondering, like, what was that conversation that happened behind the scenes, and what identified me to them? Like, a very low-voiced woman will come into the store, and she wants those skins, and we're gonna give them to her. Food safety regulations be damned.
It's almost like it was meant to be. I don't know, it feels like it was meant to be.
I love them. Yeah, I think the first question that they asked before they said no was like, are you selling them?
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm making art. And they're like, okay.
Okay, so the poem is called Not Just a Platform for My Dance by Marilyn Dumont. This land is not just a place to set my house, my car, my fence. This land is not just a plot to bury my dead, my seed. This land is my tongue, my eyes, my mouth. This headstrong grass and relenting willow, these flat-footed fields and applauding leaves, these frank winds and electric skylines are my prayer, they are my medicine, and they become my song. This land is not just a platform for my dance.
Beautiful reading.
So, how did you come across this poem?
I'm just a big fan of Marilyn Dumont, so I've known about this poem for a while. I reached out to her and I asked if I could use it, and she said yes, which was lovely. Yeah, I'm a fan of hers. There's not a whole lot of Métis poets out there. There's not a whole lot of Métis anything out there, but.
And why do you think, why did it sit so well with you and fit so well within the exhibition? It was describing the land, and so why did you want to beat it onto fish skin?
I wish I had a better answer.
Okay.
Cause fish skin's fucking cool, man. It's so cool. It's so cool to work with. You tan it yourself with like tea in your kitchen. You get to like scrape off the scales. It's just really fun. It was a bitch to work with though.
Right, I was gonna say it must be really, really hard on the needles and fingers and.
Yeah, like actual blood is on that piece. It's really gross. Yeah, no, it was horrible. It was terrible.
But you would do it again because it's so fun.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, it looks great. It looks great.
Do you have any like tips for people that want to bead onto fish skin like that?
Don't over tan it. You're gonna think like, oh, maybe it's not finished. Cut a corner off, see if it's like still raw inside. If it's not, like don't. One day is gonna completely change everything as to whether or not it's like supple enough to work with, or like so hard that you're just gonna curse everything. Yeah. Don't over tan it.
Okay.
And don't be stingy when you're like massaging it with oils and stretching it, because like it'll be more supple. Yeah.
Does it thin it out?
I don't think it. No,
It just makes it more
thinner.
supple.
It just makes it makes it more supple. Yeah.
Okay. What you truly own can't be lost to the fire. which is the last piece if you're experiencing the exhibition in a clockwise manner. Beacon being the beginning, and then what you truly own can't be lost in the fire as the final piece.
Yeah. I've had some great interpretations of that piece as well that people have shared with me. Somebody was like, is that a guy playing a saxophone? And I said, yes. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Yeah, whatever you think it is, maybe you run with that. That's so great. I can't see it. It's a bit of a Rorschach test, I guess.
But that's the cool thing about like light boxes, right? It sort of changes as you see it from different angles. So maybe from a different angle you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, with that piece I was thinking about ownership. I was thinking about ownership of land, and I was thinking about ownership of even ourselves and our bodies, and how quickly things can be taken from us. Our possessions, our autonomy. And it had me questioning sort of like, what is it that we can really call our own? I was wondering if it was maybe something a little bit more intangible. That was made during the summer while the wildfires were blazing up north. So yeah, it was back to thinking kind of about all we have and all we can lose, and all that we can't.
Right, and what we actually own, and what do we actually own?
Yeah.
Is it even our bodies, our thoughts, our minds, our art, our culture? You know, so much can be taken from us, but what do we truly own?
Yeah.
And then lastly, maybe we can talk a little bit about the medicines. It was really important for you to have all 4 medicines present in the exhibition. We have the cedar here, meant for protection, so we put it along the window. We've got the tobacco as gifts for folks. The sweetgrass above the doorway there. And then where's the other thing?
There is sage kind of in the corner near Jennifer.
Right.
But also like before if you walked in here, my mom walked in and she's like, it smells like weed. I was like, we smudged. She's not indigenous.
You've been smudging like regularly in the space.
Yeah,
which is really important. Yeah.
We've been smudging regularly so the smoke of the sage is infused. It smells like weed.
So it's something. Why was it so important to you to have all of the medicines represented in the exhibition?
I was in a group show a while ago. No, well, I was in a mentorship program through MAWA, and one of my sister mentees said, like, there's all these shows and they're always like grappling with like these really like traumatizing, complicated, angry emotions, and there's no aftercare, and that had me thinking about it. And I was like, I'm talking about tough stuff here, and the last thing that I want to do is hurt anybody. You know what I mean? And so I think with having like the 4 sacred medicines in the room, I was kind of trying to offer as much protection as I could for the visitors, And I'm not trying to say like, this show's so hardcore, you can't take it, but it's like if you need it, it's here. And that was a big part of having the tobacco offering at the front too, which is traditionally like in our culture, given in exchange for knowledge and for wisdom. But I wanted to thank all of you for spending your time and spending your energy in this room with these pieces. So that's why there's a bowl of tobacco. I think it's still there.
Yeah, it's there.
Beautiful. By the door. So you're welcome to take one as you leave.
Yeah, and so much about what I think we really vibed on working together well is that we wanted it to be about reciprocity, not just between like you and I, but the space and the people that come in and experience it. So to give yourself and your artwork, and then the people can take something away with them when they leave, like that was really important. So
and expensive. I had to buy like 2 big jars of loose tobacco, and that was expensive.
yeah.
Thank God for that grant one.
Yeah. Shove it back and whack. Whack and whack.
Whack and whack. No, Canada Council.
Oh, Canada
Not
Council. Right on. That would be a conflict of interest.
Big conflict, yeah.
So we have a couple minutes left. I'd like to open it up to any questions that anyone here has for Vi or myself. Hey Jennifer, here I can bring this over to you. Maybe it'll reach.
I can stand up too. Okay, so this is going to sound technical, but I think it's more like spirit. So the way I see the works like hung are like at heart level, not eye level. And I mean, there's obviously the higher ones, but I was just wondering why the decision of the lower hanging.
That's beautiful. This is another example of like whatever you think is the right answer. You know, that's gorgeous, Jennifer. I love that. The technical answer was for accessibility reasons. If you actually want to talk about that.
Sure. I recently curated an exhibition with my friend Nestor Windrush at the Winnipeg Art Gallery called Threads of Kin and Belonging, and so it was really important to him that the artwork be hung lower than what is typically standard, so that not only that he, and people in wheelchairs could see it, but maybe children or people that can't stand. So that's why we hung it a little bit lower. Was for accessibility reasons, but I love the heart level reason. Yeah, for both reasons. It's just to make it accessible to everyone. Yeah, and it's something we've adopted at the WAG too. Is we are hanging everything lower now.
Yeah.
That is heart medicine though. Like,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
That's thank you for that. I love that a lot. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
The peanut gallery? My mom.
I found her idea of beating through difficult emotions instead of only happy ones very evocative and interesting. One piece that I think is wise in the idea of beating while happy is when you're already feeling lousy, trying to manipulate little things can get really frustrating.
That too, for sure.
Yeah. And so I was curious, especially when you talk about finishing this piece at 5 o'clock in the morning, how do you work through problem solving or making mistakes or things like that when you're in the actual process of beadworking?
No, thank you for mentioning that. That's a really amazing point. Yeah, it's also entirely technical, that teaching. If you're incredibly frustrated, you're gonna we are working with small stuff, we're working with string that gets tangled, beads shatter, and if you're really frustrated or pissed off, something's gonna snap and you're gonna make a big mistake for yourself. So if I have time and I'm really out of it and it's reflecting my art, put it aside, absolutely. Yeah, but if I'm on a time crunch, I think I just kind of go into a part of myself that's I'm in control of my body. I can force it to do what I want it to do. And that's how I ended up staying up till 5 a.m. It's just it's body over mind at that point. Yeah. And I find that to be helpful in times of turmoil as well, to just be my body is a machine, and sometimes I can make it do what I want it to do, and my brain can just take a backseat, and my body will keep moving. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Yes, I'm just wondering if the show is going to go anywhere else and where you would like it to go, and is it touring?
God willing and the creek don't rise.
Who else
I love
would
it.
you like to see the show? Where? I'm curious.
I love Daphne Gallery in Montreal. I also just love Montreal, so I would love to see it go there. We haven't even really super talked about touring the work, but we'd love to. We'd love to.
Yeah,
We did say
great.
let's tour it. I think
Yes.
we were out
Take
on
it on the road.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we should totally tour this, and you're like, let's do it. So yeah, hopefully it will go other places, because I think the message of fear and how it's such a primal, something that everybody experiences, and also the idea of beating not just when you're happy, like these are all things that should be shared as far and as wide as possible. So I believe that it definitely should tour. So we'll see what happens.
Love to see it.
Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Newfoundland.
Rooms, they would love this. What do you think?
Okay, I'll email you. Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So good to see you.
Hello. Thanks so much, both of you. I was wondering, like, with an exhibition that like you've been working on for a long time, and these artworks that take a lot of time to produce, are you left with any ideas or threads from that process that you're thinking about now that this version of the work is completed?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's like I don't know if it's been like hard to let go of the show. Like I'm working on some other pieces. I've got some other kind of group shows coming up. But yeah, there are always ideas that come up, and I'm like, shit, that would have been awesome. Like, okay, I just found out I love bats. Big fan of bats. Vampire bats have this thing that they do. I don't know if that has like a technical name, but Google calls it French kiss with blood. Where like a vampire bat will like regurgitate blood to like sustain its partner. And like similar to Death Spiral, it's like a bonding ritual. And I'm like, that's bitchin'. That should have absolutely been one of these guys. French kiss with blood? Are you kidding me? Like that's amazing. So yeah, sometimes I'll like come across an needle and be like, that would have been great. So maybe if there are like future iterations of the show, I can make new work and include some of those ideas for sure.
How much of you as an artist, once this exhibition is out in the world, do you want to evolve it and continue the thought process, or does part of you just want to be like, okay, on to the next?
I think I'm pretty reactive in my work to whatever like I finished last, and even that's like evocative in this show. Like when I finished with one piece and like one technique, I would move to one that was like completely different. Like if I was hand weaving for a while, then I would go to like working with something that's a little bit more 3D, like the Morning Band, and then I would go to like one of these guys, which is a little bit more random, and then back, like I would skip around. I'm working on a piece right now for Spencer, for my sister, a Christmas gift, and I'm doing some like really colorful florals. I'm it's been so nice working with colors again that aren't just red. So like, yeah, like I think that at some point I'll be like super happy to come back to this, but for the moment I'm like having fun doing other stuff.
Is it gonna be as big as the one you gave your brother?
Yes.
Oh, good.
It's half done.
Competition in our family.
She's trying to quell family drama at the artist talk.
Which is bigger than what you gave to Andrea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
How many hours did you spend
2
on
weeks.
that?
So when you gift beadwork, do you adopt that sentiment of only good things in it when you gift it, or is it?
I try. I try.
But I mean, we're humans, right? If we only did things when we feel good, like, I wouldn't have left my house today, like, you know?
If I only beaded when I was like happy and like go lucky, nothing would ever be done. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When I'm happy, I'm out there doing other stuff. I'm not, so I try, but also like, like I learned a lot of these teachings from my mentor, Janine Crouchy. Another shout out, Michelangelo of Miteku work, like the staple.
Yes.
And like,
She believes these things, but it's not like a doctrine.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that because Indigenous teachings they were tried to take from us, that a lot of times people hear them and they think, okay, well this is doctrine, and we
Yeah,
need to
this is,
stick to it 100% because it was tried to be taken from us. But if we don't let it evolve with us as people, then it becomes maybe irrelevant. So you can stick to that doctrine if you want, if it speaks to you, but also you don't have to.
No.
Right?
Yeah. No. I think I think it's magical that there are like so many beadwork artists out there, and I don't think there's like a wrong way to practice. Yeah, there's no wrong way. Yeah, so you can be crying your eyes out and beading for all I care, as long as you're doing it.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just want to thank you all so much for coming out. It's so cold out there, and time is really precious. So the fact that you're here with us is like it means the world. Thank you so much for coming.
Likewise.